This is Tufts on Tax. Welcome to another episode. Today's topic is Where's My K-1? And this is an opportunity to talk to you. We are proud to be sponsored by Private Corporate Counsel, the program at CPLS that brings you as a business, starting business or other business owner, the information you need to be successful and operate and grow with the tools that you would otherwise have with separate counsel you can have with private corporate counsel. And so as we proceed today, we're talking about Where's My K-1? Now, we're talking about a K-1, which is a form that many of you get when you're in a business, from an LLC or a partnership or a S corporation. You'll get a K-1, which is a single document. And if you've ever seen them, they come out after March 15th when the entity files its return, or if it's under extension later in the year. And you get a document that has information and a lot of things in it. And then on the one side of the form, it will have the numbers on it that you will hand to your accountant, or you will look to program into a software, and it will end up on your return, or so you hope. On the issue of whether that will happen, what you need to do is what happens if you don't get one. And what we're talking about today is what are your options? What do you need to do? You have to do something. And what you're going to want to do is not to be asleep at the switch, but rather you're going to want to be proactive. You're going to want to get on the phone, talk to the person who prepared the return last year, or if it's an initial year, talk to the person in charge of the business, find out where is my K-1. So you're making that call. Second thing you're going to do is if you're in a business that is an LLC and it has an operating agreement, what are you going to want to do? You're going to want to be looking at the agreement. So do you have a written operating agreement or other such agreement that describes what, how, and when, how, and what is the financial information you're going to get as a business owner? And then last, if that information doesn't come in a timely manner or as required, you're going to want to then ask for that information. And why? Because if you haven't got a K-1, then how are you going to have the numbers to know what to put on your taxes? So we're talking about you're not getting the information you need. You need to be proactive. You cannot just say, well, I didn't get the information, I don't have to report anything. If you were a member or partner or shareholder in one of these entities that gives a K-1, you have to go about figuring out what are the numbers that belong on your tax return. And you have to go into the entity and get that financial information. And if you have to hire a lawyer to make those demands on the business to get that information, then you need to do that. And how you do that is going to be laid out in an operating agreement or shareholders agreement. And then, of course, we have state law that will also tell you what your rights are and how much information you can get. And basically, you can get the information necessary for you to be able to own your interest in the business. So with that being said, you don't get a K-1, and yet you're asking for one. You're calling the business, or you're talking to the CPA, and they say, we'll get one to you, but it doesn't come. Well, at some point, if you can't get the K-1, you've got to have that financial information to estimate what the numbers are to put on your return. And then if you don't and you get that financial information, you can do that. But you cannot forget 8082. So we have the K-1 and we have an 8082. If you don't get the K-1, you got to file 8082. So, and if the K-1's wrong and you did get one, you file the 8082. But you don't do either of these things without first trying to get your questions or your errors fixed. Or if you didn't get one, you've asked for it and you're getting the runaround and you can't wait any longer, then you've got no choice but to estimate what that impact was going to be and then file 8082. So this is the concept that you got to know. So you pull both of these forms and the instructions to the forms, and you go to work and study what you need to do. All right? So this is a critical aspect of every year being in a business that has a pass-through concept of, having income at a level or expenses or losses, and they pass them through to you as one of the owners. What percentage are you? And, and then is that correct? And so forth and so on. So you have to be diligent and look at both of these forms together and get after it. And so if you have any questions about how to go about this, then this is where your CPA and those knowledgeable about this area of the law and the taxes can help you. But you cannot be asleep at the switch. If you're a business owner and you're in one of these type of entities and you're getting a K-1, or you should be, then you got to get after it and get it. And if they can't give it to you, you got to do the 808 too. So do not forget that. And there are plenty of cases and things that come about that if you don't do this and you don't file the 808-2, then the IRS may not accept what you put on that, and instead mandate that you report and pay taxes based on the K-1 you did get. So very important to look at both those forms. And again, one more time, it's the K-1 and the corollary Form 808-2. Now, there's many more particulars in that we'll get into. We're going to have a webinar and get into that a little bit more, an hour webinar, and we'll get that out there for you, and look forward to you attending that if you are able, and presenting a much more detailed look at where's my K-1, and look forward to joining you at that time. Next time on Tufts on Tax, we'll be talking to you about these types of forms that can drag you into litigation if you don't know it and you're not prepared. And so you want to avoid litigation if you can, and certainly understand how these forms can protect you as a business owner. Again, I want to thank my sponsor for here at Tufts on Tax, the Private Corporate Counsel, CPLS PA, and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.